Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. So if there's anybody else, you can please come to the front. You don't have to sit in the back. It reminds me of a classroom situation. There you are. So welcome to each and every of you. Professor Delaray, our Vice Chancellor and Principal, Mr. Peter Steenkamp, CEO of Harmony Gold, our colleagues from Harmony Gold, the CFO and the Chief Operating Officer, and Mr. Chris Griffith as well, welcome. And our other colleagues from the industry and from University of Pretoria. It's great having you in this very auspicious, momentous occasion where we're launching this Harmony Chair in Rock Engineering and Numerical Modeling. And as the Vice Chancellor will tell you, it's very important for us to develop partnerships with industry, offering engineering and technology education, and to offer the right type of education to our students. It's very important for us to have the collaboration with industry so that we train the professionals that we do for the world of work, at the same time giving them exposure to the right kind of environment. So we're very honored and privileged to again celebrate this great event. So I'll call upon our Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Delaray, to do the official welcome. Prof. Delaray.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much to our Dean of the Faculty, Professor Sunil Maharaj. It's my pleasure also to add my word of welcome to Mr. Peter Steenkamp, the CEO of Harmony Gold, the team, many of whom I met for the first time this evening from Harmony Gold. It's wonderful to host you here at the University of Pretoria. Our other distinguished guests, our sponsors, Mr. Chris Griffith, good to have you back here at the university. Thank you very much for your ongoing support. It's really a pleasure to have events like this because it marks a milestone in the partnership that we have with Harmony Gold. And today we're marking the official launch of the Harmony Chair in Rock Engineering and Numerical Modeling at our UP Department of Mining Engineering. And as you've heard, the head of the department will be joining us a bit later. But had he been sitting here in the front row, he would be sitting very upright at this point in time, being extremely proud. At the very outset, I wish to extend, on behalf of the university, our appreciation to Harmony Gold for your financial support for the chair and all the activities associated with the chair. And I think it's especially symbolic at this time when we're faced with greater unpredictability and what seems to be regular threats of instability, not only to the universities, but to the industry, the mining industry, and across the country, as well as increasing demands for ever-dwindling resources. It's at this particular time that we especially value collaboration and partnerships like the one we're celebrating this evening. In reflecting on the collaboration and partnerships we enjoy with industry, it really, as I look back at the past few years, the partnerships we have with industry are pivotal in driving the strategy here at the University of Pretoria. And as I look back, without your support, Harmony Gold and other industries with whom we've partnered in the recent past, we would not have been able to achieve the milestones we have as a university. What we've become as a university is really a regional hub for attracting great talent, young talent in the country. Certainly, I think Prof. Maharaj, as I look at the Faculty of Engineering, Built Environment and IT, what we've achieved in this faculty would not have been possible without industry support. In the past few years, we've celebrated the opening of 6 research institutes, 9 research centers, and 17 chairs, of which 13 are industry sponsored. And I think our Department of Mining and Engineering has been at the forefront of forging close collaboration with a range of industry partners. As we sit here this evening, I think the venue for this function bears testimony to our dependence on industry. It wasn't that long ago when we opened this Mining Industry Study Centre. I think it was 4 years ago. In fact, Professor Maharaj, as I look at my diary, I noticed it's 4 years ago to the date. It was on the 31st of October 2013 that we opened this very venue, and some of you were here. And it was only possible thanks to the generous funding of a number of industry partners, and Mr. Griffiths, you were here on that occasion. It really, and you can look behind me to see what a world-class venue this is, providing computer-supported individual and work facilities for more than 800 students. It has become the hub of what we call the engineering precinct on this Hatfield campus. As I look back, I also think to when we formulate agreements such as the one that we officially mark this evening, there's always a set of planned objectives and outcomes. From the industry partner, you know what you want to achieve. We have our sets of objectives. But over the years, I've observed that we often find that investments made by industry partners have an impact far beyond that which was initially anticipated. And this Mining Industry Studies Centre is an example. Soon after we opened it, it became the envy of the students of other faculties at the university. Everybody wanted access. And I remember the predecessor, Prof. Maharaj's predecessor, determining which students would be allowed here and which ones would not. And the other deans were all negotiating deals for these students. But what it has done is it inspired the development of what we now call social learning spaces across the university. Next year we'll be opening, not on this particular scale, but we'll be opening something similar at the other end of the Hatfield campus, a new social learning space. On our other campuses, for example, at Princehof, where we teach, where we train doctors and other healthcare professionals, they have a facility that was modeled on this particular space. So it's not often in the agreement when we sign it that you think about the unintended consequences in a very positive sense, and this one has certainly had a multiplier effect. And similarly, as I look at the history of the relationships with Harmony Gold, I believe that the chair that we officially launched today will produce positive, unintended, perhaps unplanned rather, spin-off effects for the university and hopefully for the company itself. Because what I observed is that the launch today was actually initiated also in 2013, some years ago, when there was an agreement to conduct research on a specific rock or a number of rock engineering issues in an attempt to provide a safer working environment in deep level hard rock mines. And then the work commenced, and I assume that good progress was made and you were really satisfied with how it was progressing, and hence made the decision to commit a further $5 million in funding for the chair and for the project for a further period taking us to 2019. And once again, may I thank you very much. I'm well aware of the issues that confront the mining industry at this particular point in time in South Africa due to economic issues, but also the very difficult political environment in which we find ourselves. So I can only once again say thank you, because by investing in us, you are expressing a vote of confidence in our Faculty of Engineering, Built Environment and IT, and in the University of Pretoria as such. I'd like to assure you that your vote of confidence is well placed. As I'm sure you all know, universities in South Africa have been through a rather tumultuous time. But the past year, 2017, has been very different from our 2016 year. But I especially wish to bring to your attention that despite the protests and the other challenges we faced in 2016, what we found is that our strategy really fared well under those circumstances. Because when we look back in mid-year, we look back at our performance of the past year, we saw some exceptional positive achievements. I'm not sure if the Dean will tonight share with you the upward trajectory of all the disciplines in his faculty. By upward trajectory, I refer to the quality of the graduates as assessed by our employer surveys, but also the impact of the research as assessed by various ranking systems, but particularly those that rank engineering and the different fields or the different disciplines in engineering. So it's been, despite the challenges, a very successful period for the University of Pretoria. And 2017 too has been, we've continued to achieve milestones in our strategic plan. And it's simply because when we confronted these totally unexpected times, we relied on the 4 principles that drive our strategy. And these 4 principles are quality, our commitment to excellence, but at the same time thinking on a continuing basis about our relevance in everything we do, our research, our curriculum, and in our core business practices. The next principle is diversity, to which we commit ourselves. And sadly, I'm not seeing enough of that in our country. And by that I mean that when we commit to diversity, it means exactly that. It's not a case of replacing one group with another, but making sure that as we transform our institution, we become more inclusive. Because public universities are currently one of the few places where students or young people from very different backgrounds meet and sit side by side and often live in the same room in our residences. If you think of what's happened in the high schools, many families who have the means choose to send their children to private independent schools or sometimes former Model C schools. But in a public university, as long as you meet the academic criteria for registration and admission, you are here. And so this is diversity in all its forms. And I often rather lightly say to many people that the University of Pretoria is in fact unique in the country at the moment, because it's the one and the only institution where we have all social classes, we have all political perspectives. In fact, I once said, and I will now repeat it, that we actually have the A to Z of political parties on campus. We go from AfriForum on the A side, and we have the equivalent of ZANU-PF, also a small group here. And what we commit to do as an institution is using diversity as an asset. And that's an important principle for us. The final of our 4 principles that we have committed to is sustainability in all its dimensions. And that's where this partnership also matters to us. It's through partnerships like this that we can deliver on our commitment to these 4 principles, and particularly to relevance and to sustainability. I hope that our official launch tonight will become a milestone in what will be a very long and mutually rewarding partnership that will benefit Harmony Gold in its own objectives and also the University of Pretoria. And as I said, often these partnerships have multiplier effects, and this one will, because whatever we achieve will not only be a benefit for a single company, but for the industry, the mining industry as a whole, and of course for our country's social and economic development. So once again, thank you very much for your continued support, and from our side, we commit to deliver on the objectives to which we've agreed. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Delary. I'll call upon Mr. Jan Hanekom, who is currently holding the chair. Will talk a little on the department and some of the activities that's happening within this particular sphere of work in the department, and I'll tell you a little more on the faculty after that.
Professor Delary, Professor Maharaj, Harmony Senior Management, Mr. Steenkamp, Mr. Mashego, Mr. Nell, advisory board members, department heads, students, everybody that's here. We really appreciate it, that you took the time to come and join us for a couple of minutes and talk about the university to start off with, the faculty, the department, and obviously finally, which in my view is extremely important, is the chair. I'm going to run through a presentation, a part of which is about the mining engineering department. My department head, Professor Weber Youngman, is currently on his way here. I do not think he's going to make it in time, but we'll see. Maybe he surprises us. So he asked me to go through his presentation, and I therefore want to warn you, if I promise anything that is not what he wants, then I'll make excuse later on. But we'll go through these slides. The department vision. I took the liberty of taking his presentation and highlighting things that are of interest, not the only stuff, but the things that are of main interest to me. And you'll see the research and the development of students coming up quite a lot. In terms of the vision, a leading research-intensive mining engineering department that's developing people, right? And I would like to show a little bit later on that the chair features in this, and would like to feature in that. Our mission statement, to educate and lead mining engineering students to become Imagineers. Right? Through what? Well, through skills and through education and through research, right? Leadership and related technology interventions. So even in the mission statement, what we're trying to do in the chair is extremely important. This initiative, I think it's a year ago now that we launched this initiative, the MRRC, and its whole aim was to look at research. So again, within the department, the whole topic of research and development is extremely important to us. We need resilience. Professor Delary referred to it. It's not an easy time in the industry at this stage. Therefore, we need resilience in everything we do. And in terms of research, the safety, again, in my point of view, the safety is a very important aspect. And later on, when we talk about the chair's work, I'll refer to that again. And through what? Well, through committed postgraduate education and research initiatives. So again, that comes. Because that is part of the department's aim, one of the things that are very important to us is the number of postgraduates. That's where the research happens. The department has as a plan 2025 a total postgraduates of 100, of which 30 will be full-time. You see the breakdown there between PhDs, masters, and honors students. The use of the MRRC to help these students in projects, and then visualization, which is something we're trying not to forget. We've got this fantastic facility, and for research to end up in that facility would really be a huge positive to transfer knowledge, transfer the information that we gain through the research. The department's got a couple of quick win projects going through the Mine Health and Safety Council. Technology, the impact of technology on people, communication systems, rock mass condition tool assessment tools, support testing capacity or capability, collision management systems, missing person locator system, and methodology for escape and poor visibility in underground environments. These are all projects that's ongoing where the department or different members of the department are busy with or they're involved with. And again, the aim is to show you the seriousness of the department in terms of research. SAMERDI, some of you may know of this whole process. Huge name or a very long name, South African Minerals Extraction Research Development Innovation Project. Right? And really important thing, and I'll show you a little bit later on, that the chair can play a major role in this, or the work that we've done in the chair, and we really believe it will be. Those are the themes: advanced ore body knowledge, mechanization, modernization, non-explosive rock breaking, real-time information system, human factors. Now that whole process is aimed at taking each of these themes and doing collaborated research. That means we are working together with WITS, together with UJ, together with the CSIR in a team instead of competing against each other, sharing knowledge, developing answers for the industry. I'll refer to that again a little bit later on. Short courses that are in development in the department: surface mining, safety officer qualification, mining innovation business unit. What we've got already available that's running in the industry: risk management, management and leadership, tunnel engineering, mechanization, blasting, introduction to mining, visualization, and then, of course, which to me is the most important, is what's happening here tonight, is the rock engineering portion of it, right? And what's happening in the chair. Again, Prof. Delaray touched on it, and I thought it would be very good to show you guys just a little bit of the history of what's gone into this chair over the last couple of years. And to start off with, we actually have a couple of people in the audience that were involved with rock engineering research in the past, in the old CSIR or Mining Tech or Comro. And South Africa was known as the leading researcher in the subject. Right? In fact, if you look at the main names in the world, in the industry, then you'll find they either came from South Africa, are South Africans, or they were here for a while and they worked in this country. So we've got this rich history, but that's sort of disappeared over the last couple of years. Right? And in the meantime, we've gone deeper, our extraction ratios have gone up, our problems have just increased. And there's a mismatch there somewhere, which I'll refer to again later on. In 2012, a couple of guys got together and they said, all right, we need to do something about this research, and the idea of the chair was born. They identified a research partner in Harmony, did a proposal in 2013, and then the Harmony agreed for a 3-year sponsorship. That happened 2014 to 2016. The people who identified the researchers, I'll refer to some of them specifically again a little bit later on. And then now, we're in 2017, and Harmony has agreed to continue the support, right? To continue this attempt at revitalizing rock engineering research. I wanted to become very technical, and then I was told, no, I should keep it very simple. So you can look at the graphs. I'm not going to refer to them at all. I'll talk around the words. I'm more comfortable with the graphs, though. In the beginning, there were general objectives set for the chair, right? And they said, promote research in rock engineering, further indication in rock engineering, interaction. And again, you'll hear the same words coming out of the department's vision and mission flowing into the chair of what is important to us. In terms of research, there was one specific project, and that is the impact of mining rate on seismicity. That was really an important one, and that's the one Harmony brought to the table, and that's what we started off with, and I'll give you some feedback on that a little bit later on. Now, obviously, this research is split into some stuff that's fundamental, that's really the heavy mathematics and the new thinking, and then the applied research, where we're trying to develop something that we can give to the industry and say, okay, now use it. Use it to the benefit of the industry. And those were the aims. So in terms of the achievements, I'm going to start at the back and not with the technical achievements, but with the other ones. In terms of education, sharing the knowledge, getting the message out there, the people involved with the chairs published 16 papers over the last couple of years. Not necessarily chair work, rock engineering work. Right? Rock engineering papers that they presented in journals and conferences. In the last conference, what was it now, about a month ago, AfriRock, the work that we do in the chair was referred to not less than 5 papers. So the message is getting out there. We're trying to show people that things are happening, and we're going somewhere with this work. In terms of student development, we've got a young man in the audience now from the IT department. We brought him along to say, okay, how can you help us take the software and make it a little bit more user-friendly, right? We are inclined to spend a lot of time on how the software must work and what we must do to fix it and so on. And we often forget that somebody's got to use it in the end. and therefore it's got to be a little bit more user-friendly. So he's involved with that. In terms of rock engineering students, we've got a couple of MSCs that's going that I'll show you just now a little bit later on. We had an honours student last year, all of it out of the chair. So we believe we're also fulfilling some of those promises there. In terms of the more technical stuff, Professor Napier developed Texan, that's the name of the software, a while back, and it was thought that we should take that animal and try and develop it to do what the chair said it would do. We would investigate the impact of mining rate, how fast we mine on seismicity. We've changed this thing to the software code to go from 2D into 3D. We've managed to get the code to give us an appropriate stress distribution. Now, without going into a lot of detail, we know that ahead of the face there's a little bit of fracturing, the stress is lower, then you have a stress peak ahead of the face, and then it tapers off to virgin stresses again. The software manages to show that trend. So that was already a great success to us. In other words, we could have some representation of the fracturing, not the actual explicit fracturing in the model, but some representation of it. We managed to get that right. We managed to build in time in terms of stress distribution as well as closure trends. Right? Managed to build that into the software. We took the old ERR that a lot of people that know about, adapted a little bit to give us a little bit of an enhanced design criteria. So all of this has happened, and in the process we played around with the impact of bedding planes and the impact of faults and laminated hanging walls. How does this code handle it? So all of these things we managed to do in the last couple of years. To carry on with that, we did some calibration. We started sensitivity studies. What's the impact of different parameters? What if you put more bedding or thinner bedding? All of those things we played around, and we saw how the software reacts if we do that. There's a graphical front end that I mentioned just now. We had an element size. I'm not going to go into the detail of that, but we had the element size problem that we believe is solved. Calculation time, you get complex computer models run for long times. We managed to improve that as well. In terms of the future now, and the next slide is really important as well, but we have to take this package now and start doing something that correlates or that talks to the underground. That is now the next step. And we've managed to secure 2 projects, one where the instrumentation is financed through Harmony outside of the chair, and another one where the chair financed the instrumentation. Those are at Bombanani and Kusasa, and those projects will happen, the instrumentation will go in, we'll get the readings back, we'll be able to calibrate this model and really test whether this software is able to produce the promise it shows, right, in terms of mining rate and the actual seismicity that comes from that. Looking forward, obviously training in November, the first time we'll spend some time with the Harmony rock engineers talking around these issues, what we're trying to do, how we're trying to do it, really focusing on postgraduate studies, and now we're talking rock engineering, not necessarily within the current chair's project. We will probably look at expanding what the code that we're developing can do into the coal, to the platinum, and look further in terms of rock engineering research, referring back to where I started with rock engineering research, is that we know it's at a place where it shouldn't be in this country, and maybe the chair can play a role in putting rock engineering research back. I can just mention to you that a PhD from this department in rock engineering at the recent AfriRock conference landed the biggest prize for PhDs in the world as the best PhD from this department, from this university in rock engineering. So I believe we still have the people that can do that. The SAMERDI process involvement, most of what SAMERDI does is to try and get people off the face to improve production rates. Now, if we talk about improving production rates or a 24-hour mining cycle, we're talking increased mining rates, we're talking seismicity. That's what we're busy with in the chair. So if we manage to solve this animal, then the impact on the whole SAMERDI process is going to be significant. Finally, we do believe rock engineering research is important. We do believe we have the people in this country to do that. We believe the Harmony chair can contribute towards that, and therefore we thank Harmony for being involved with that. Also, of course, the university, the faculty, the department for thinking about this chair and getting it off the ground and getting it floating. And then I put them last, but they're probably very important, Professors Napier and Milan. They are really the engine of this thing. So we really appreciate the time and the effort they put into it. I copied this from Harmony's website, and I hope you're okay with that. And the only reason I put it there is for the last sentence, right? That it's relationships between industry and the university, between industry and the government, between the universities and the government, with the labor unions, everybody involved, that will grow towards combined goodwill, combined thriving, combined success. And I really thank Harmony for practicing what they're preaching. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Johan. Thank you for your passion. And of course, encapsulating the important aspects that we do in rock engineering and blasting technology. Some of you may have been here, I think probably a month ago or 3 weeks ago, where we launched the AEL partnership between ourselves and, of course, AEL in terms of blasting technology and in terms of VR and software engineering between our mining engineering and our electronic and computer engineering and our IT group. So again, this shows the synergy we have and the leverage and the focus, so that we don't try and do everything and anything. So we try and focus our expertise around certain things and bring in the different facets, whether it's in visualization or developing software or developing code or numerical modeling, which Professor Napier does here as well, and how we bring that into the deep research, but applying it as well to industry, and as well as bringing it out for teaching and learning and making people understand from a business point of view, so that people can use it rather than saying, I got a nice publication, I got a nice piece of code, and so what? I think we try and marry and merge the two different facets. So that's a unique thing I think we try and do in our faculty. So sometimes we get the criticism to say we only do research for industry, which is very applied, and there's no real research, and that's not quite true. I think the work we're doing here in the numerical modeling, and some of the work we're doing in artificial intelligence and in machine intelligence work, that's real development of algorithms, and then of course trying to apply that to real cases, whether it's in the mining space, or whether it's in crowdsourcing, or whether it's applying it to financial intelligence or business intelligence. So those are the different things we're doing in the faculty, and I think the work which this particular group is doing and makes us, I think, quite strong in South Africa. If I look at the work that UP is doing, particularly in rock engineering and blasting, and if I look at the work that has been going on and the plans we have in recruiting a few other people, and the partnerships we have with a few industry, I think in a few years' time we'll certainly become one of the world leaders in the space here. And I think you should watch the space in the next couple of years. I think we have some very innovative things happening between ourselves and the CSIR and the industry partners. Also in engineering, Professor Delare mentioned some of the work we're doing in that space without boring you. So we, UP engineering is quite large in local terms and global terms, and Professor Delare says we shouldn't talk about being the biggest all the time. But I think size does matter in the South African context, because we need the skills in this country. And one of the biggest challenges in this country, as you know, is that having the right skills. So we need to develop more and more engineers, and I think we're proud as UP to make our contribution in the country. If you look at the last statistics that came from the Department of Higher Education and Training last year, almost 26.8% of the engineering graduates in this country is from University of Pretoria. So almost 1 in 4 engineers that's going out to the industry is a Taki graduate. So it's very important. I think we're making a big contribution. But also, I'll also tell my colleagues, we had a meeting with Exaro a couple of months ago, and I told them, it's also, they were having a risk management meeting, so I told them, it's also a risk, we're also a big risk to the country as well. Because if we mess up 1 in 4, 25% of the country is screwed. So we cannot afford to do that as well. So that's the other side of that. So hence, I told them how important it is for us to continuously work with industry, because if you work with industry and partner, then for sure we're going to get the input and the critique and the value from it, and that's going to help us to produce better quality engineers. So the mutual partnership and the benefit for both of us is extremely important, and more important for the country, so that we can develop and train and educate the right type of graduate we need for the industry. So hence we really treasure these kinds of activities going forward. So I'll ask Mr. Peter Steenkamp to share his message with us on behalf of Harmony Gold.
Professor Delaray, Professor MRRC, Professor Ronnie Weber in his absence, and the reason why he's not here is because he's actually doing work for Harmony in Welkom this today. And I want to put a bit of a feather in his cap because, you know, he actually came in a very competitive bid in terms of leadership development. Now, for mining engineering to become a leadership development fundi and a guru, but he's doing a sterling job for us as part of a consortium of people that actually do leadership development for us in Harmony. And he's been in Welkom today to do that, and hopefully will join us some later. Other members of the Department of Mining, and then also my team, my executive team with Mashego, our executive director, and then also the SA Exco team under the leadership of Beyers Nel that is here tonight. And then also our service providers in rock engineering. Thanks for joining us here tonight. I actually want to start with a story, which was not part of my address, but I do want to start with a story. And the story started in 1997. I was a young manager at the Vaal Reefs complex at the time, looking after the northern part of the Vaal River at that time. And I was just moved to this old mine, which was very high grade and pillar mining. And at the time when I got there, there was only pillars to mine, high grade as I said, but very, very difficult mining. But there was 5 big pillars to be mined. Very high grade, but unminable at the time in terms of the history of the mines, the problems that we had in terms of mining it, and the fatalities that we had mining those big pillars at the time. So both of them were, all of those pillars were actually written off in a resource plan, and it was not part of the plan as we go forward. I then met up with the late Dr. Martin Pretoria, which is at that stage was with SRK. And I said to him, let's find a way, and we were obviously friends at varsity at the time when we studied here, say, can we find a way in mining these 5 pillars? Because that will be, at the same time, those mines were sold to Arm Gold. Patrice Motsepe became our chairman, and we started this company, and we had these 5 pillars to mine. We mined those 5 pillars successfully through good rock engineering practices. That was the beginning of probably one of the biggest success stories of a company in South Africa. Because you all know where Patrice Motsepe ended up. You know, those mines actually were the springboard for us to buy 50% of free gold with Harmony at the time. And that actually put, you know, ARM as a company on the map. It's still a shareholder of Harmony today, but also ARM as a company in its own right, one of the most successful companies in South Africa. And it all started with rock engineering, good rock engineering practices under the leadership of the late Martin Pretoria. And those years we in actual fact talked about, you know, mining rates, how should the mining rates be? Because some of these pillars were very, very problematic. We had to slow down the mining rates to actually take them out. And what was actually a very good story about that is that we had no seismic fatality of mining any for one of those 5 big pillars. We mined them out without having any seismic fatalities in any one of them. So that was just to start with the story. So rock engineering is still important to mining. I know many guys mine on surface. I know Chris wants to go in a big Molagala Kena mine, just mine on surface. But I mean, it's extremely important that we have good rock engineers in South Africa and actually have the science to be able to mine. Harmony at the moment, 2 weeks ago, announced a $300 million investment in South Africa. And as part of that is probably 5 million ounces of very high-grade pillars to be mined. And if we cannot find a way of mining those pillars, it will be not a very good investment for us, But we do believe that we can do it, and that is why this chair is so important to Harmony. So I welcome you all tonight to tonight's launch of the University of Pretoria's Chair in Rock Engineering and Numerical Modeling Harmony, as a leading gold producer in South Africa, is very proud to be supporting this research initiative. Harmony has been mining deep-level hard rock gold mines for 67 years. Safe and productive mining is crucial to the survival of any gold mining company in today's highly competitive global mining industry. With the remaining ore bodies becoming deeper and more challenging to extract, more research is needed to enable miners to safely bring the ore to surface. We believe the research being conducted by the university is going to prove fundamental, not only improve safety, but also productivity at our mines. Our investment in the South African mining industry has never been as important as today. The mining industry makes a significant contribution to the economy of our country and to the lives of many households. Harmony recently announced the acquisition of the Moab-Katsom mining operations near Auckland in the Northwest Province. This reinforced our commitment to South Africa and leads the way to promoting a sustainable gold mining industry. There's a well-known saying that you can be stuck between a rock and a hard place, a situation which many of us might not be too comfortable with, but many miners are faced with this reality on a daily basis. And this is why we want to emphasize today that the positive outcomes of this research will better equip our mines to safely commit to the work they can carry out underground. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who have involved in the program, this is an important opportunity for you to leave a lasting legacy on the South African mining industry. We encourage you to do just that. Enjoy the evening en baie geluk vorentoe met die belangrike navorsing. And we're really proud to be associated with the University of Pretoria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Steenkamp, for those kind words, short and sweet, and of course very apt as well. So we come now to unveiling of the plaque. So I'll ask Mr. Steenkamp, Prof. Delaray, if you can please join us at the plaque on each side so that we get a photograph. Thank you very much, Mr. Steenkamp and Prof. Delaray. So that concludes our function for this evening. So before we finally say go for the eats, I just want to thank, of course, a few people for putting this event together. Certainly I'd like to thank our faculty marketing team. Esti, thank you very much, and of course Leonard Smith for assisting us there. And of course, our mining department people as well, the staff and the administrative support staff for assisting with invitations and the other logistics, putting that together. And of course, the leadership of Professor Ronnie, who is not here now, he'll join us later, for his passion and perseverance and tenacity. I think that's very important. We try and inculcate that in all our heads of department so that, you know, we keep on chasing people, because everybody's busy and everybody got important things to do. And only those that persevere will always be remembered and noticed, so to speak. Of course, the department, the staff that works in the department, particularly Johan Honeycomb, Professor Napier, that works in the department as well, and the other part-time and extraordinary academics we have working in the department, because they're helping to build the research and create this kind of momentum that we have within the department. And of course, very important, Mr. Peter Steenkamp, who's an alumni of this particular university and this faculty and the Department of Mining Engineering, and who's keen to support us as a department and as a faculty. We really appreciate that, and of course, Harmony's support. And that's very important. I think we find largely our support has been to industries is our ambassadors, our alumni, who are senior executives or senior people across the country and even globally. And we find that they're always willing to support us, and we really appreciate that, because at the end of the day, this is your alumni, and you know, if it's not good enough, then you don't really say you got this degree from University of Pretoria. So I think it's a win-win situation. But more importantly, I think we need everybody's support. If you look at the success of American universities, particularly, or European universities, particularly America, it has been largely due through alumni support. Alumni continuously support them in different ways, whether it's supporting students, giving talks, exposure to their industries or funding, whatever the case. And that has made them very successful and very competitive. And that's what we need to do in this country. We need, in tough times like these, where people may not be very easily sharing funds, but I think we can share many other things besides money. And that's our expertise, our experience, our facilities, our people that we have out there to opportunity in terms of infrastructure, whether it's software or hardware, or buildings and labs and so forth. And I think there's many other ways we can still sustain and grow the momentum of expertise which we need in this country across the board, not only in mining but across all facets of education and training. So certainly we'd like to thank Harmony for their support over the years and their continued support, and of course Anglo-American support as well over the years. We really thank you for that. And there are other colleagues in the audience who have been supporting us in other ways, and we really appreciate you coming here this evening and of course supporting us as a university, because for us to grow as a university is not only one department, but the whole university needs to succeed, and we succeed as part of that whole ecosystem. So colleagues, thank you very much. There's food and drinks. Please stay around so we can network and catch up on all stories and drive home safely. Thank you very much.